Dear Disney, everything in this review legally falls under fair use. If you don't like people saying your movies suck, make better movies. Sincerely, every YouTuber you've tried to cancel. Well, Disney's latest live-action remake is in theaters, and if 4 straight minutes of this sounds like fun, then this is the movie for you. The premise for The Little Mermaid, for the 4 of you who don't know, is a teenage mermaid named Ariel falls in love with human Prince Eric, makes a deal with the sea witch Ursula to become human, and has 3 days to get a kiss from old Hunky Drawers before she becomes Ursula's slave. Oh, I'm sorry, that was the 1989 version. In this version, Ariel just loves the idea of humans and wants to bridge the gap between their 2 warring species, because little girls just love interspecies political conflicts. That's just one of many interesting changes to the new version of The Little Mermaid. The word love is all but forbidden. At no point does anyone, even Ariel, mention the possibility that she's in love with Eric, which makes it really confusing when the condition of Ursula's deal is that she get true love's kiss from the prince. She seems more interested in being his friend and helping their people get along than being married to the schlub. Ariel's crush in the original was relatable because teenagers are hormonal, stupid, and inexperienced, so they tend to think their first big crush is true love. They're not usually looking at a relationship as the way to bridge international relations between warring nations. And making that and wanting to move out of Daddy's house be Ariel's main motivation here kinda breaks the story. Where does the true love thing come in? Is she in love, or does she just see Eric as a kindred spirit? It kinda seems like the latter. But that's one of Disney's modern rules for strong female characters. Real romantic love for a man can't be a thing, because that kind of relationship puts both people in a position of equality or potential weakness. And you can't have a woman beholden to a man, even if it's only in her heart. So they had to change it. And why the addition to Ursula's spell of the magical amnesia? It adds literally nothing. It's mentioned once later on, and changes nothing. But then that's par for the course with Disney live-action remakes. What they plagiarize from the original is good, but not great, and what they change or add to the story makes it worse. And boy, do they change and add a lot. About an hour's worth of extras over the original, and it's all bloat. Forced environmental and anti-war messaging, entire sequences that drag once tight scenes into eye-rolling slogs where you want to scream, "Just get on with it!" And 4 new songs that range from pointless to out of place to ear-bleedingly awful. Did we really need 2 whole songs to tell us that fire hurts, I can't walk, and I'm excited to see the boy? Well, Disney must have thought so, because though Halle Bailey is a wonderful singer and a fine voice actress, once she loses her ability to speak, you can't tell what's going on behind those big doe eyes of hers without the songs. She's an acceptable face actress, but she has what I call reverse Natalie Portman, where her voice can convey a host of emotions, but her facial expressions are, to put it generously, limited. But it doesn't stop with her. There are entire exchanges of on-the-nose dialogue that has actors all but turn to the camera and say, "Do you get it yet?" How stupid does Disney think the audience is, and how little confidence did they have in their cast that we need every single emotion, motivation, and plot moment explained in excruciating detail? How did an 83-minute animated feature from the 80s express more with a glance than a 2-hour-long live-action film with real human beings? And speaking of those human beings, Melissa McCarthy is here. Wait, don't turn the review off. She's actually pretty good, even if she's just doing a B- impression of Pat Carroll. And her rendition of Poor Unfortunate Souls, my favorite Disney villain song, is decent, even if they mangled the lyrics beyond all recognition to steer clear of the problematic triggers. It seems nobody at Disney has any clue what subtlety in context means, so they butchered the once cynically wicked romp into bland forgettableness. This is a bad person giving bad advice. It's okay for her to body shame or tell Ariel men are pigs who want girls to shut up and get them a sandwich because she's evil and cynical and trying to make Ariel fail. And the references to her being Ariel's aunt are so forced I got Force Awakens flashbacks.
In the hands of your father, Han Solo.
The voice acting for Sebastian and Flounder is good, but is rendered nearly lifeless by the processing on the vocals. How does a company that made its bones on animation and voice acting have such awful, soul-sucking studio effects? And the less said about Awkwafina, the better. No! No! Then you got Prince Eric and King Triton. Prince Eric in '89 was bright and cheerful, exuberant and smiling. You could see the lively soul within his bright eyes. Jonah Hauer King in 2023 is dour and lifeless, with brief sparks of charm. I don't blame him, and he seemed willing. I blame the directing and the script. Meanwhile, could somebody check Javier Bardem's pulse? I don't think he's still with us. Bardem is such a creative, expressive, and charming actor that I have to wonder how little he cared about being in this movie as Triton. He gives the bare minimum of his talent, and whether he's smiling or brooding or raging or penitent, it's all one blurred, beige performance. And the CGI is atrocious. How did 2003's Finding Nemo imbue the ocean with such vigor, realism, and life, and these people flouncing around with their CGI hair and goofy mannerisms comes across exactly like what it is? A bunch of people in mocap suits being yanked around on wires. And I saved the biggest spoiler for last. I mentioned Disney's rule about romance earlier, but another big rule is that under no circumstances can a woman be saved by, or bested by, a man. In the original, Ariel saves Eric's life when he's drowning, and at the end of the film, he uses his knowledge of seamanship to steer a galleon into Ursula, killing her and saving Ariel in return. It gave a kind of beautiful symmetry to their relationship. She saved him in her world, he saved her in his, both using their specific gifts and showing how much they really need one another. But that can't be allowed in 2023, so while Ariel still saves Eric from drowning, she also restarts his heart with her siren song, and then during the finale, while Eric flails around helplessly, Ariel climbs aboard the ship, and even though she should have no idea what she's doing, expertly directs the craft directly into the sea, which thus saving him again. At no point is Eric allowed any sort of agency or heroism. Yeah, he saves his dog, but they needed that to get to the part where Ariel saves him. And he distracts Ursula, but they needed that so they could get him to the changed ending where Ariel saves him again.
Look how they massacred my boy.
Look, there's a rule to remaking movies. If you can't do it better, then don't do it. And though the players seemed game and the effort and the money were all on screen, this remake pales in comparison to the original. While the songs from the original were playing, the little kids in my theater were smiling and bouncing and having a great time. During everything else, I saw them wandering the aisles with a bored look on their faces, and the poor kid next to me almost fell asleep. It may be the best of the live-action remakes, yeah, and I can easily see why children growing up with it will have fond memories of it later. But the magic Disney once had, the creativity Disney once had, is staunched by lesser mortals who have no concept of what made life under the sea so magical, so perfect, and who would be confused by the simplicity of seeing the sun rise over the ocean with a child's eyes. But what did you think of the movie? Is it Disney magic or Disney meh? Let me know in the comments, and if you want to hear more about Hollywood's fishy flops and foibles, like, subscribe, and until next time, happy viewing!